The following podcast contains graphic discussion of true crimes laced with foul language and tipsy banter that may be offensive and disturbing to some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
This is Rebecca.
Hey, I'm Jen, and welcome to Crimes Uncorked. So today we have our fourth episode, and we pretty much have abandoned our previous plan, and we're going to talk about something that we just couldn't get off our minds. But before we get into that, I have to share something with you.
Okay.
So, I read the funniest thing the other day. Now, I feel a little bad about finding this funny, but it was really hysterical. So, I'm just going through Instagram, and this is from our friends at We Are the Worst, the podcast. And they posted this on Instagram, so I'm giving them full cred. I don't want to, steal it or anything like that. Because, anyway, so I found a list, right? And you and I, we're both Dateline junkies. We admit it. We watch the show. We even watch reruns. We love it. And there's so many true crime fans out there who love Dateline too. And let's face it, after all of the hundreds of shows we watched, there's just things we notice that are kind of funny. Even though they're not, but they're funny. This is the list of things I've learned from Dateline. All right, here we go. Number 1. If you have a time-stamped VHS footage of yourself blowing out birthday candles, you'll eventually be abducted. Okay. It's terrible, but come on, let's face it. How many of those have we seen, right? It's almost like in every other episode. Some little adorable child blowing out birthday candles, and you just know it's not going to go well for them.
Right.
Okay. Number 2. You'll never be murdered if you have more than 3 pictures of yourself. So in other words, be a narcissist. Okay, number 3.
That's the best.
If you have a smile that lights up the room, you'll eventually wind up covered in blood. She had a smile that lit up the room.
Oh, hilarious.
Poor girls.
These are all the, verbatim exactly what descriptions of it.
Right?
You know you're watching a Dateline. You're like, a Dateline.
Exactly.
It's like a cookie cutter.
It's like part of those little things you shouldn't be making fun of, but at the same time it's like you need to laugh about it.
Yep.
And it's just, they're funny little things that, you notice when you watch Dateline. So the next one, number 4, is in the Midwest, there are no loose-knit communities. There's just none. In fact, the story we're going to talk about today, that, of course, happens in a tight-knit community.
Absolutely.
There are no loose-knit communities in the Midwest. Number 5. You can't be murdered in your home if you own furniture more recent than 1983. Listen, I know a few people right off the bat that are like, they're safe. They're safe.
Oh, I love it.
Okay. The best way to cope with your loved one's murder is by staring at a boat marina. It's so true.
Oh my god.
It doesn't matter where this.
Oh my god.
It doesn't matter where the story takes place.
Right.
The story could be taking place, in the middle of the country, and somehow they find their way to a boat marina, don't they?
Yes, always.
Okay. By the way, that doesn't work. I've been by many boat marinas, and that shit doesn't work. FYI. Okay. Number 7, and this is true. This one is so true. People only die on beige carpet.
I know, it's never like brown where you couldn't see anything.
But it's always beige.
Beige
it's
or
always
white?
beige, yes. Okay. Number 8. Only perfect marriages end in strangulation.
Absolutely.
These poor women. These poor women in these perfect marriages. It was a perfect marriage.
Until I killed him.
Seriously. Just keep it in your mind that no marriage is perfect.
No marriage.
And you'll be alright. Okay. Number 9. And we have talked about this many times, so this is a total given. Life insurance is always a bad idea. Always a bad idea.
Always.
Once the discussion of life insurance comes up, just pack your bags and get the fuck out. There's a hit on you. Right?
You're gonzers.
Yes. And finally, number 10. If someone ever says never in a million years, it means next April. Never in a million years would anything like this happen in our little community. No. I don't want to put a jinx on us or anything like that.
No.
Okay? People who, like, love Dateline and are, kind of weird like us will get this humor. But anyway, so we are the worst, the podcast. Thank you very much for that laugh. All right, so let's start off with our wine of the day.
Yes, we have 19 Crimes, which is a bottle that Jen gave me for my birthday. Thank you, Jen.
Welcome.
And I said, let's do it for our next podcast. So it is 19 Crimes, and it's just 2016 red wine. And it is awesome.
Now, if you're not familiar with the 19 Crimes line, they have these, what they're called, like living labels. And there's a app that you download. And what you do is you scan the front of the wine bottle and they come to life.
So cool.
So each of these 19 crimes feature a different criminal on them. And they talk about the crime that they have committed. So what we're going to do is I have the app and we're going to scan the label and we're going to find out what this bastard did. So here we go.
I was banished to Australia for crimes against the Crown. They believed my story was over, but it was merely the beginning. Bearers of a rogue sustains when the bars of man impede. For no cage can hold that which is boundless. No man stop that which is fated to be. Victim of crime 18, spared the hangman's noose, banished to Australia. I found true love in the most unlikely of places.
Don't we all? So there you go. I mean,
That is so cool.
Right?
That is amazing.
So it looks like a really nice red. I'm looking forward to drinking this. So
Yeah,
shall we?
good. Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. So by the way, if you want to see the label that we just scanned, just go over to our Instagram because that's where we post our wines of the day. And you could also go to our website and we feature the wines that we uncork here. So you can check it out there.
Awesome.
All right, so anyway, let's get into today's topic, which is a hot topic. Now, I don't know, but I feel like I need to drink just a little bit more wine before we really talk about this because
Yes.
this shit is bananas.
Yes.
Like BANANAS. Okay, so we basically just jumped on this bandwagon, and Rebecca and I have just recently had the pleasure of watching the true crime doc on Netflix called Abducted in Plain Sight. This has been the most talked about documentary on Netflix since the Ted Bundy tapes. So we both watched it just so we can get up to date on what everyone's talking about. And holy shit, if you saw the picture that I posted on Instagram, you would know. Now, if you have not seen this, you're not going to want to listen to this yet because we're going to give away all the spoilers.
Yes.
Okay? So you want to maybe like tune out, but then come back because then you can hear what we have to say about it, and then we can see if, you know, we agree or disagree or whatever. But I have not seen a documentary like this in such a long time that has got me like so aggravated and like screaming at the TV. Like, it was emotional.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of it, I had such a headache. I had to take an Advil that night. I'm like, what is this? Right? Advil PM, please.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Help me.
Oh, my God. And so many levels, too.
So many levels.
Oh, my.
We're going to get into it. So, again, if you have not watched this, don't listen right now because...
Yeah, we don't want to give anything away.
We don't want to give anything away.
Everybody should have a fair shot at watching it through their own naked eye.
Oh, yeah.
So turn this off now.
Yes.
Come back after you watch it.
Yes. And then we'll discuss.
Right.
But until then, please go watch it on your own, or better yet, watch it with somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
I watched it with my husband. Well, I watched it by myself the first time, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So then I watched it again with my husband, and it was great to watch it with a guy because, like, it brought on like this whole other like perspective on it that was just hilarious. Okay, so Abducted in Plain Sight is also known as Forever Bee. It's a 2017 true crime documentary directed by Skye Borgman, which recently premiered on Netflix, like we said. Now, I just want to say right off the bat, one of the most annoying things about this is, like, if you do any research on it, like we did, the names sound so similar.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting tripped up on everything.
Yeah.
There's too many B's. So we have the director Skye Borgman, Jan Broberg, a 12-year-old Idaho girl who was abducted by their family's next-door neighbor and closest friend, Robert Berchtold. So we got the Borgman, Broberg, Berchtold. Okay, but anyway. All right, so the way that the documentary is set up is they have straightforward interviews with Broberg family, including Jan herself, her sisters, her parents.
Right.
Marion and Bob are her parents. Other people who are involved in the case, there's an FBI agent later on that gets really involved. We have the neighbor's brother, who is a whole other, like, Jerry Springer episode. And, the whole entire thing was just really bizarre to watch. And
really bizarre and shocking. You're like, huh?
The whole time.
Oh, I wanted to get in there and strangle somebody.
I felt like I never had a reaction like this to a documentary before.
Me neither.
All right. So let's get into the grades. So the Broberg family, they lived in a tight-knit community, like we said before, with the Dateline. There are no loose-knit communities.
Dateline, and this like totally coincides with everything.
Right.
I love it.
Right? So they lived in a tight-knit community in Idaho and met the Berchtold family at church. They had so much in common. The dads were business owners.
Right, and they all had the same set of friends.
Right?
When she pointed that out, I was like, okay.
It was like
Perfect.
meant to be, right? Because the wives became good friends, the husbands became good friends, the kids became good friends. So it's just a whole best friend situation going on here. And so this guy, Robert, who became known as Brother B, and then eventually just B, to the family.
Right.
He had this fixation on Jan.
Right, that's what they suspect. They even said that they didn't like the way that he had his relationship with her.
Her parents, Jan's parents, Marion and Bob, knew there was something a little strange with this relationship.
Absolutely.
Right off the bat.
Right then and there. They said themselves they felt it, they knew it, but they did nothing about it. Okay.
Yes.
So that's cringe number one.
Red flag number one.
Oh my God.
Well, you know, when they met, Jan was only 9 years old, but it was really when she turned 12 that he really started to have these stronger feelings for her. So a few years went by, he starts having these really strong feelings for her. He's showing her lots of attention, and the parents are kind of like, this is disturbing.
Right.
I mean, now we can say that it was a sign of the times. We don't know. It was the 70s. This was before the internet. They had no idea. Yes. And he just was charismatic, and they trusted him.
Yep.
And the girls really looked up to him. He was the fun dad. He wanted, they wanted their dad to be like him.
Yeah.
So,
but did you notice, like, in all the current interviews, like, they just matter-of-factly talked about it, and they were just like, and then this happened, and then that happened. I mean, wouldn't you feel, like, after coming to a realization of what happened, wouldn't you just be, like, so angry and disgusted by him, talking about him?
that is one of the most, like, infuriating things about this documentary. It's almost like a twist of its own, because in the beginning, when Jan is speaking and she's getting teary-eyed and talking about how her entire family survived this whole ordeal,
right,
you're thinking, holy shit, what the hell am I in store for?
Right.
And as this starts to unravel, you're just like, what? What is going on? You're right, and I'm screaming at the TV.
And the whole time, the girls are saying, we had good parents. We had a good upbringing. Our parents loved us. Our parents were a bunch of, like,
selfish assholes.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Oh my God.
Well, even though the parents thought that their relationship was, a little on the disturbing side, it didn't stop them from allowing B complete and total access to Jan.
Right.
She's like 12 years old now. He's taken a real interest. Now, the other thing that this documentary features are audio files, and they played an audio file over a photo that he took of her, describing how he put his arms around her and kissed her.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
And the woman, he talked about her being a woman.
A woman! She's 12!
Yeah.
It was
the most
crazy.
beautiful kiss.
Yes!
With
like,
a woman.
So
and
romantic.
it's like, that's not a woman.
It's
this is not. Oh, I don't know.
That gave me the chills, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
The way he was describing it and talking about her, I couldn't believe it.
I know, and you could hear it in his voice with the excitement.
Ugh.
And you're thinking, you see the picture of this little girl's face, and you're like, how could any man, a 40-year-old man, say that about a 12-year-old girl?
She was 12 at this point, where he was just totally infatuated with her and in love with her. And had to have her. So Jan shared a bedroom with her sister Karen in the basement of the house. And B owned a furniture store. Right. So what he did was he manipulated them into thinking that, hey, you're growing older, you would probably be better off with some privacy. So he finagled his way in their house. He was coming by. So every day he was there, he had access to Jan. He was spending time with Jan. He built this bedroom for her, a private bedroom.
And isolating her from her family.
Absolutely. He was doing it for himself because he wanted the privacy.
Oh, yeah. And to alienate her.
What happened was B explained to Jan's father at one point that he was molested by an aunt.
Right.
When he was younger.
Right.
And he was going to a therapist, and part of his therapy required him to spend the night with Jan. Mm-hmm. This was a process of his therapy. He needed to spend the night with Jan.
And he said, even call the doctor if you want some information about it. And he trusted him. So he said, no, that's okay.
The dad's like, yeah, why don't you just come in and please sleep with my 12-year-old daughter, you 40-year-old man.
Or he never even asked to listen to the tapes. Or he didn't say, okay, that's fine, but I'll sit in the room with you. Or nothing. Like, he didn't question any of it. It's like, oh, okay.
Duh.
Oh my God.
So, as the documentary stated, B spent multiple nights a week in her bed, drugging her and molesting her.
Yep.
Now, at this point, too, Jan's also going on family trips with the Birchtold family.
Right.
So she's going away with them. So he's with her almost all the time. This is that special treatment he was giving her, taking her, just her, not her sisters, just her, away with his family. And, she would sleep over their house. And, one night, she recalled how she woke up and her underwear was pulled down, and when she questioned him about it, he just said that she was restless in her sleep and it just happens.
Yeah, and she must have just pulled them off.
Yes, yes.
Which is just crazy.
I mean,
but then when you hear her say, but it couldn't have been this man that I trusted and believed to be my father.
I know.
You know, like, it just doesn't make any sense. So it was like she couldn't believe that either.
Exactly.
So it had to make more sense. That had to make sense.
This guy was a master manipulator, and
adult.
he groomed her. He knew
yeah.
exactly what to do. And unfortunately, there wasn't much that Jan could do, because not only was he now manipulating Jan, but he was also preying on her parents.
Oh yeah, he was also trying to manipulate them.
Absolutely.
At the same time to gain their trust.
So that he had access to her.
And access to her. Exactly.
And they fell for it.
Yep.
Because her mom, Marianne, recalls that she was so flattered. B started complimenting her about her body. And look, she was married to her husband. And not for nothing, but like when they were showing the photos, he looked old in like 1974. Okay? He's already looking like an old man back in 1974. Okay? So.
Right. But
anyway, look, she wasn't getting any, is basically what we're trying to say. And so, you know, B kind of picked up on that. And
because didn't she also say he had charisma that Bob didn't at one point?
Yes. And he was spending lots of time at the floral shop. He was coming home, neglecting his wife. B knew that. He
saw
played into it.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly what to do in order to get her to open up to him more. And he just reeled her in. So she even recalled that at a church function that they had in Utah, that they wandered off from the crowd, right? And they made out a little bit.
Right.
She said that was the extent. They just like necked. They necked in the car, and that was like the extent of it, basically. But what was even more shocking than that, right? This was like the jaw-dropping moment. So if you saw the post on our Instagram the other day with the cat's like totally scared face.
This is why.
My face at exactly 22 minutes into, right? Everyone who has seen this knows exactly where we're going. Okay.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about Bob's story.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what oh my God.
So Bob, Jan's dad, riding along in the car with B, and they're having some, you know, male camaraderie, talking, you know, shooting the shit, whatever. And B tells him that, you know, he couldn't stand his wife anymore. You know, he wasn't having sex with his wife. He couldn't stand her anymore. He just needed some relief.
Oh my God.
He needed relief. So Bob notices, hey, my buddy here is excited.
Yes,
right?
He's a little aroused.
He's a little aroused. He noticed he's aroused in the car. So B says, hey, you know, I need some relief. This is what all guys do, don't they?
They pick up their friends at work and say, hey, my wife won't fuck me, so come on.
Yeah.
Rub one out.
Yeah.
For me.
Do me a solid, bro. Just do me a solid.
I was like, what the fuck just happened?
I know. So he breaks down and cries. Now, apparently, this is the first time he came public with it. So, you know, he had a hard time talking about it. You could tell.
Oh, yeah.
He was getting teary-eyed. He said that, you know, this was like the first time, you know, that he showed infidelity towards his wife.
Yeah.
How quickly that happened, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
So now things are just getting really complicated because B's showing some affection to the wife. He's showing some affection to the dad. They're both like, you know.
They're both like in deep now.
They're
he's
good.
But he's got shit on him. So they're like pawns in his game where he can just tell them to do it and manipulate them.
He's playing the puppet master.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At this point, they're
absolutely.
like, okay. All right, so on October 17th, 1974, Bee was supposed to pick Jan up from her piano lesson and wanted to take her horseback riding. And Jan asked her mom, can I go? And her mom didn't really want her to go, so she pleaded with her mom.
Yeah, it was her mom's gut feeling.
Yes.
She was just having one of those, like, oh, I don't feel right about this.
Yeah.
And she, instead of listening to her instincts, she let it go.
Yeah. Because, Jan was being a bratty kid.
Yeah.
And she
I want to go. I want to go.
Couldn't take it anymore, so she said, all right, go ahead. So Bee comes and picks her up, and as soon as Jan gets in the car, he gives her allergy medication. Turns out to be a sleeping pill. And the last thing she remembered was taking that pill.
This is like the next,
this is
what moment?
We're now at our next, what the fuck moment.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay. Wakes up from her drug-induced sleep, and now she's trapped in the back of Bee's motorhome.
Yep.
She's bound to the bed, isolated and confused, with her wrists and her ankles tied.
Yep.
Okay? There's a small white box, aka a tape recorder,
Right.
on a small table next to the bed. All of a sudden, a high-pitched monotone voice comes out and is repeating female companion. I almost feel like I should be doing this like it was like female companion. You have been chosen. You have been chosen for this mission. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
but she believed it because she was 12. She could have been listening to aliens.
she was brainwashed at this point to believe she was half alien. She was half alien.
Right, because her mother
was part alien.
No, her mom was a human like us, Earthling. Her father was the alien. Oh my God, it was bad.
Now, so the alien is telling her that it is her mission to have a child with her male companion and to save the alien planet from destruction. Okay?
Oh, do you have the penalties? What they were? Do you remember?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I do. If she failed to complete her mission, right? The voice said that the younger sister would be taken to finish her job.
Because she's also half alien.
Because she's also half alien. That if she revealed these details to anyone, that harm would come to her family and they would just disintegrate. You don't want to go that way. That's not how you want to go.
No.
So in the film, Jan's quoted as saying, I believed it absolutely. When you combine being isolated and completely afraid, you can pretty much get someone to do or believe anything.
Well, and she was drugged too the whole time. So she was probably in and out of consciousness.
She was totally in and out of consciousness.
Yeah, so who knows what she was really hearing.
And she's 12 years old. That's a lot to impress upon.
Oh, yeah.
At that age.
And you're isolated from your family. You don't know where you are. And you have this noisy little high-pitched noise next to you telling you what you are. I mean, it's plausible.
Exactly.
It could be plausible, maybe.
Well, one of the all right. All right, so she's scared shitless that these aliens are gonna kill her family, steal her sister, so she's going along with it. What's she gonna do? She's 12.
Right.
All right, so in the meantime, when Jan and Bee didn't return home, her parents were going to call the police. But then...
This is the best. Yeah, this is the best.
Until Gail, first told, Bee's wife, comes over and says, could you not do that? And they're like, all right.
Because that makes sense.
That makes sense.
We wanted to make Gail happy. Did you hear him say that?
Yes.
So I was like, who the hell? Who cares about Gail? Your kid is missing.
Yeah, they never turned up, and, they could be lying in a ditch somewhere, but Gail asked us not to say anything, so we're not going to see anything. So, basically...
Why doesn't she want to find her husband? Because she probably knows what's going on.
Yeah, she probably does. She probably does.
Because they don't really talk about her at all.
She was very absent from the documentary.
Absolutely. I don't think they even interviewed her, did they?
No. She just appeared in the reenactments. Yeah, but anyway, so it took Jan's family, ready for this, 5 days before notifying the FBI.
I just can't.
And her mom even admitted a couple times, like, I was going to call and it kind of wasn't their jurisdiction. So I was like, I don't want to upset anybody. Your kid's been gone for a few days now. Like, how could you be so lax about this? I just don't understand.
I don't get it.
They truly believed that she was not in harm's way and that they just went and something
because
happened
they trusted
to them.
him.
They trusted him.
They were like
completely.
Even when she said they were talking to the FBI guy 5 days later and they still haven't turned up, the mother says, they kept telling me, this is your child. He took your child. And they were like, no, he's just with her. Like, it was so foreign to them.
Right.
That he didn't take my child. He took your child. Like, they had to convince her that a crime had actually happened.
Right. And this is where we introduce another player into this whole saga, and that is the FBI agent Pete Walsh, who is been interviewed for the documentary and basically drilled it into her parents that she had been kidnapped.
Right. Yep.
So, Agent Welsh explained that his investigation turned up some disturbing information about B that nobody knew at this time.
Right.
Right? He happened to be infatuated with young girls for a while now.
Right.
And he already reportedly tried to get 2 others in the area, but the church kind of like put a little hush-hush on it, or they were all in this tight-knit community. They all went to the same church, and, they kind of like...
Yep.
So, I don't know. But apparently he had a past, and Jan was clearly not safe with him.
No.
So, another character is B's brother Joe.
Oh, yeah, because he comes into this, yeah.
Now, this guy, I don't know where they pulled this guy from, okay? I mean, I guess he needed somebody to talk on for his side. But where they pulled this guy Joe from is beyond me. He's sitting there, like, literally, like, he's talking about the weather, or he's talking about,
Yeah. So, my brother...
He was straight up like, hey, my brother's a pedophile.
Yeah. Oh, I knew that when he was a little boy.
Yeah. Oh, I knew that. All right, so now at this point, the FBI tracks them down to Mexico. The RV is now in Mexico.
Oh, right, yeah.
Down in Mexico, it was legal to get married young if it's consensual.
Oh.
So they were able to get married. And not only that, but she was now brainwashed to believe that she was on this mission from an alien planet that she needed to fulfill, or else she was going to spontaneously combust. All right? So when they're finally tracked down, she's reunited with her parents, and they're so happy to see her, but she's like fighting them, saying...
Go back.
Yeah, she's fighting them like nothing happened. Everything was okay. We were just on vacation. Because he reminded her, if you spill the beans on this mission,
we're all dead.
We're all dead, basically. Yep. So she complied and said, hey, everything's okay.
Everything was great.
What is wrong with you?
Right.
Okay, so now at this point, B is facing kidnapping charges. Her parents were so under his influence that they actually signed affidavits to stop the pursuit of prosecution, because it turns out that B had a little discussion with Bob and said, hey, you want everyone to know you choked my chicken? You better shut the hell up. So, right then and there, he had him, and I don't know what their situation was back then, but, a rumor like that, I mean, I'd just pack up and move if I could. I think my daughter's, like, health and well-being would come before, like, whatever this asshole says about me in town, but who knows, because they accepted the way Jan was behaving, and they were so under the spell of this guy B. Well, the case went ahead without them anyway.
Right. Because the district attorney got pissed.
Oh, he was like, what are you people talking about? Like, they were like, you're her parents. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, the case went ahead, and he agreed to a deal and entered into a guilty plea. And he was sentenced to 5 years, but it was reduced to 45 days, and he only served 10. At this point, Agent Welsh is telling Jan's family, like, cut him out of your life. You don't want
anything to do with them.
Do not have anything to do with them. So
kids, keep the kids away from them, keep the kids apart from each other. The kids can't be friends, all of it.
Cut off all ties with their family. As he put it in the documentary, they did not do it.
God, these people.
I know.
Every chance they've gotten to take care of this, and they just don't.
Well, if that wasn't even crazy enough, the mom, after her daughter has been kidnapped by this guy, is still, like, persuaded by his charms, and they wind up having a full-on affair. She is now... Like, what? I just couldn't... What? I couldn't understand that.
I know. This is where I had to turn it off. And I'm
it's like you have to come back to it.
I had to, because I was like, oh my God, no, I gotta turn this. This is like bad on so many levels. This can't be true.
Yeah.
And then it was right back on. Because you're like, so you want to see how this ends.
And you know what I found? I don't know if you noticed this, but when the mom was talking about her affair, after everything that's happened, even to talk about it now, this happened like 40 years ago, she still talks about it with like a smile. Did you notice?
Yes.
I was like,
that's all of them. They talk about their stories, and there's not an ounce of anger there at all. I mean, even when he says, "Oh, we were just so stupid." How were we just so stupid? And that's it. I mean, me, I'd be like, I guess I would show my emotions more. I think I would be more like, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe I did this. I'm such an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, yeah, well, yeah.
I mean,
I guess everybody's alive. I guess that's...
Look, I know that the 70s were kind of a, like, you know, happening time, but this was just a little too much for me to handle. Like, the mom's now shacking up with the kidnapper.
He wanted a divorce. He filed for divorce.
Yes. Then they came together, and I think at this point admitted, she said, I've been having an affair, and he said, look, after everything that's happened, if we could get through this, you know, this is what's meant to be. Right. And they decide to stay together. Right. Now, at this point, though, he's still having access to Jan. I mean, he's calling her, and she's accepting it because she is now believing that they're in love. She's looking at him. She's married to him.
The letters she was getting. Creepy.
I know. Oh. It was like the love letters of olden time.
Oh, my God.
Written by a 12 and 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
All right, so if this isn't bad enough,
hold on.
B now kidnaps Jan a second time. He staged this scenario where, like, she ran away from home.
Right.
He was calling up the house and talking to her mom, Marianne, and saying, I'm hearing from Jan. Meanwhile, she's with him. He had her. He enrolled her in school, pretending to be her dad. And now he's calling her house and telling her mother, Marianne, I'm talking to Jan, and she's gone and become a child prostitute. And she's like, oh no.
I know. Did you hear how she answered?
She's like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
I know. It was so weird. These people are just so unemotional. I think I'd be freaking out. I'd be like, you tell me where she is, you son of a bitch.
It was like,
you know what I mean? Like, you were
like, it was literally like, oh no, I drank a cup of coffee too late in the afternoon. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. What? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Oh, oh, Bob, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. That's exactly how she said it, too. I'm like, oh.
So he makes up this huge story. He's posing as her father now, which is believable because he's obviously old enough to be her father.
Absolutely.
Okay. And basically, time goes by. He has her for a few months now.
Right.
And time goes by, and she then calls her parents.
Right.
And both of her parents speak to her, and they had the audio of it in the documentary, and I got chills.
Yeah.
The little voice, I want to marry him. I'm okay. I want to marry him.
Uh-huh.
They were like, Jan, please come home. Please come home. No, I'm all right. I'm going to stay out here. And they're like, but Jan, please come home. No. All right, well, call us back then.
Right. Like, where are you? I mean, none of the normal questions, you know? Like, oh my God, where are you, honey? We're going to get on the next plane.
Yes.
Like,
I know.
why wouldn't they be right there? I mean, crazy.
It was. I don't know what these parents were thinking, but, you know, at this point, B is also in contact with them, and he's starting to get a little threatening.
Right.
Yeah, finally he wasn't smart enough for his own good and left a number in the phone book he was using at the payphone to call the parents.
Right, because they had him under surveillance.
And now it paid off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The FBI was able to zoom in on their location, got her, brought her back home.
Then,
you know, she's finally realizing that he's full of shit because all the things that the aliens, the things that were supposed to happen on her alien mission were not now happening.
right.
All right. So then they track him down and they arrest him.
He gets found guilty of kidnapping and then let off on a mental defect. So he spent actually 6 months in jail, or not jail even, in a mental institution. And then they released him because he was fine and he knew how to deal with his problem.
Down the road, Jan and her mom write this book.
Right.
And this is called Stolen Innocence, the Jan Broberg story, about the experience of her and the family. And it was published in 2003. Now they're going up and they're doing public speaking events, and B now starts showing up at their speaking events.
Yeah.
Attempting to discredit them, saying that they're lying. And in turn, so she files a stalking injunction. And after having to face him in court, she was eventually granted it for the remainder of his life. And when I saw them and that clip where they actually showed the court footage, now at this point, on one hand, I'm thinking, yes, finally, she's getting to speak her mind. She realized what happened was wrong, and she stands up to him, and I thought it was fabulous. But at the same time, I'm also thinking, like, what the fuck kind of court is this? Like, it was this small, tiny room. The judge is sitting there. He's, like, either taking notes or taking a nap. It's like, I don't know really which one it is.
Right.
And they're basically just sitting about, what, like 15 feet away from each other?
Right.
Just going off on each other.
Right.
And he's like interrogating her. Like, where does he get off, like, interrogating her that way?
Yeah.
So he's still showing up, and now there's this group called Bikers Against Childhood Abuse.
Yes.
And I guess there's like a little, I guess these groups exist in different cities around the country.
Yeah.
And so now they've rallied and they are going to be at Jan's speaking engagements to protect her. Really, essentially to be there to protect her.
Right.
And so B shows up, right?
Right, yeah, he shows up and he tries to run one of these biker guys over because the guy is like, that's B, that's B.
They recognize
him, so they go after him, and he ends up running one of them over. So he gets caught, you know, put in jail for it because he had a gun in his car.
Yeah. So he gets possession of a firearm and also the aggravated assault
Yeah.
on the biker. So now they got him. Now, before the sentencing took place, though, he took matters into his own hands. And he committed suicide by sombrero.
Right.
You gotta love it. Which is hilarious, because that's actually my favorite Christmas Eve drink. And when I heard that, I was like,
I can never have another one.
yeah. I was like, wow, this guy, like, actually, went and poured his Kahlua and milk. Like, really thought about the cocktail he was going to use.
Yes.
So at the end of the documentary, Jan explains that she actually doesn't blame her parents. After all this, she doesn't blame her parents. She actually goes on to say, yes, they made mistakes, but it's one thing to make a mistake, kind of, as two innocent people. It's another thing to make a mistake when somebody is orchestrating you and playing your emotions and feelings. So, wow. Really forgave her parents. I mean, they seemed like towards the end they realized that they played a little bit more of a part than they thought before, and so she forgives her parents, which is really big of her, because that was a tough situation. But I mean, God, this guy really knew what he was doing, apparently, and that's scary.
It is.
That is really scary, and you have to wonder, like, what were these people thinking? And I think everyone who has watched this documentary has kind of had the same reaction.
Yeah.
I know.
It's so messed up.
You cannot make this shit up. All right, so a little update on everyone. We did a little bit of research, and Jan Broberg, who now goes by Jan Broberg Felt, is an actress who's appeared in several movies and television shows. Good for her. She's doing things that she wants to do. Also found out that in 2017 she appeared on Dr. Phil talking about her story.
Yeah.
Then we also found out in 2018 that Jan's father, Bob, passed away. Yeah, so it is one crazy roller coaster of a documentary.
Yes, it is.
And the whole entire time, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. So, anyway, everyone is so fascinated about just how unbelievable this story was, but there is something important to take out of it, and that is that children are so susceptible to being manipulated and groomed. And seriously, like, a lot of kids, even to this day, back then it was even more so because you didn't have the technology that you have today, but it's still true. Children are taught not to speak to strangers, not to trust strangers, and here is somebody so close to the family that came and just was a predator right underneath their noses. Yep. So that is a takeaway from this story, and I think that's why Jan really wanted this to come out, her story to come out, because she wanted to help this and prevent this from happening. So there's a lot of things that happen, but there's the whole grooming and manipulation process. So just keep open communication with your kids. I think it's important that if kids do say something, to believe them. And this documentary does bring up a lot of issues. So I guess we just want to add that if anybody out there has been affected by any of the issues that were raised in this story, to go to RAIN, which is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. The website is www.rain.org. RAIN also created and operates the National Sexual Assault Hotline, and that number is 1-800-656-HOPE. So if anyone is affected, or anybody who is affected, there's resources out there that can help you, for sure. But very chilling and very fascinating.
Well, I just looked up a real quick fact.
Yes.
Most of the perpetrators of child abuse are family members. For example, it's 80.8%.
Yeah, I mean,
it's almost 90%. Family or friends.
A lot of times these days, it's actually people you know. Yeah. And you have to go with your gut. You have to go with your gut. If something doesn't seem right, then, definitely report it. Definitely say something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so anyway, talking about it, I almost feel like I did after I watched it. Like, I need to go take a nap now, right? Reliving this. Yeah, we want to hear from you. Please don't forget to reach out to us if you're enjoying these episodes. Granted, we're only into the 4th one, but if you like these episodes, let us know. We really like feedback, and we want to know what you think. Definitely follow us on Instagram. It's Crimes Uncorked, and we've been posting regularly, and we really appreciate our followers. So we hope you like our content. Let us know. Leave us some comments, and we'll definitely get back to you.
All right.
Next week, we'll both pick up again on something that interests us in the world of true crime. So with that, I guess we'll say goodbye for now, and thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Bye!